So what have you got your slide guitar tuned to?
Well, it's a good question, because everybody's going to ask that, and then I won't have to answer it if I answer it now. It's real simple. It's just tuned in open D, but it's a half step down. So, you know, C sharp, F on the middle string, just standard D Vasterpol half step down.
So why is the 10N different from other amps?
Okay, well, this is a very good question. It's a good time for a little discussion on the 10N, where the design comes from, how the amp operates, why it's different from every other amp, why you can modulate like that with your hands and drive the amp and do all the things it does. I mean, people sit in front of this amp and they're just blown away. But why is it so different? Why does it do all these things? Okay. Well, I'm going to try to get not technical. Why? Because I'm somewhat of a guitar player, except for today, because I stuck my finger in a fan and chopped it up pretty good. So excuse my lousy guitar playing today with that bad finger. But anyway, you guys are guitar players too, so I'm going to discuss Class A and things like that, but I'm not going to get real technical, because it doesn't matter. You just need to know why these things sound the way they sound, right? And if you're a technician and you're looking for technical answers from me about why my amp does what it does, forget it. You're not going to get it here. So you know, this is for guitar players. Okay. So the first thing you got to understand with this amp, very simple overview, is where I come from with amp design. Why did I start building amps? Well, you know, way back when, I was repairing all kinds of amps. They blow up constantly, Marshalls, this, that, and all my clients were real hot shots, guys from Berkeley and guys that were just pushing stuff to the limit and always blowing it up. So I was modifying, doing all this stuff. Anyway, I had a really busy repair shop, okay, so, you know, some money started to come in and I started to buy all the amps of my dreams. Plus I'd been working on them and getting crate loads from England and you know, all the tweeds I was getting and all the old Marshalls and so on and so forth. And I'd plug these amps in and go, where's the sound that was on the record? It doesn't come out of this amp. This is horrible. And I started to realize that it's the technicians in the studio that made those sounds. You know, I mean, they come out of the amp, but you know, creative miking, all kinds of stuff, tweaking the console, effects after the console. You know, these are all things like, I mean, you take a JTM 45 and think you're going to plug into it and sound like the Beano record. It's not going to happen. Okay, so to me, what I wanted to do is, I'm so sick of seeing all these people copy amps. It's just ridiculous. There's just 8 million copies of amps. It's like everybody's amp is a copy of something else. Back then, nobody was even building amps when I started. So, I mean, I could have copied another amp and would have been fine and called myself an amp builder, but it wasn't what I was interested in, making the sounds that were on the records come out of the amp. Okay, so I didn't care how the other amps were wired. I wanted to start with a clean slate. And I discovered one of the earliest methods of wiring an amp is single-ended Class A. Okay, the first thing you gotta understand is when we say the word Class A, it doesn't mean it's better. Like if you get an A on a test and the other guy gets a C, it doesn't mean that you did a better job than him. And on the test it does, but not here. Class A more refers to it's the first type of amplification wiring thing, okay? So I'm trying to be non-technical here. So basically what Class A is, in non-technical basic terms, is if you took a frying pan and you heated it up, and you put, and it's hot, it's ready to go, all the time. It's all the time, it's ready to go, and you just drop a little bit of that pancake batter, bang, it's going to start sizzling. Right? Class B, Class C, non-Class A amps, that frying pan's cold, and every time you drop the note in, or the pancake batter, you have to turn that up and ramp it up, okay? And then there's time involved there, and it takes time, so on and so forth. All right, so it sounds better to have the thing always ready to go. Then the control of your hands is so dynamic, because everything's right there, ready to, everything's so fast, it's right there, ready to go. There's so much you're missing without that, okay? So you have all that now, and you know, so why didn't everybody just keep doing that if that's the way amps were in the first place? Because they didn't have any power, because you couldn't make powerful amplifiers Class A. Right? I figured out how to do it, but the problem with it is, this is not getting technical. The simplest thing about a Class A amplifier, single-ended Class A, is that you draw well over twice as much usage to get what you get for wattage. Okay, so you're going to make twice as much heat. You're going to draw twice as much current. Well, guess what? That's expensive. You're going to have to use big, heavy-duty parts. Okay, so the industry walked away from that. They stopped it and they walked away from it because some guy invented a push-pull circuit. I'm not going to get into names and all that, but once he invented that, single-ended was a thing of the past, and you never saw it anymore, except for in high-end audio gear, you know, where people demand great sound, and people still understand that you can take a 4-watt single-ended amp and it can be just as loud as a 50-watt push-pull amp if the speakers are efficient, and then you have all that dynamic tone you get out of single-ended. So these amps, yes, they're single-ended Class A, 4 tubes. Okay, there's no such thing except the amp I built that's like that. All right. So you know, this is an original design. The amp I built for Sean Lane had 8. It was 2 of these in stereo, and you know, one of them is pretty intense. But when you put 2 of them in stereo, it's twice the fun. But so what you have here is a 4-tube, 4KT77 single-ended Class A amp that's extremely dynamic, and that's just a little history on where it comes from. So I started with a clean slate because I don't care how a Marshall's wired or how a Fender's wired, because they fall short. To me, there's a distortion in push-pull. Okay, even when this amp is raging powerful, you might call that distortion, but it's not. That it's gain and it's drive. Distortion is a sound at the end of the note. You know it because you hear it in your amps, and it's an ugly sound. It's push-pull distortion, and you can work as hard as you can to get rid of it in your amp designs, but in single-ended, that sound doesn't exist. It's more vocal, like a voice. There's none of that distortion. It's all sustained and growl and whatever you bear down with your hands, and you can really control that. There's not this wheezy, coughing sounding distortion at the end of the notes that's always present in a single-ended circuit. Audio amplifier guys started designing incredible output transformers to remove that, and it removes it to a certain extent. But then again, you take a 300V 4-watt amplifier and it smokes all those amps anyway. So to me, single-ended is the way to go. Is it better? No, not if you want the sound of some of that other stuff now and then. But to me, it's better because my style works with this. And here's the other thing about my amps: you got to know how to play. I mean, you got to have some technique and some style. Otherwise, it's not only going to go right over your head, but it could even interrupt how you play guitar, because a lot of amps have a generic sound. No matter who plays through them, they sound that way. So if you really don't have a style in your hands and a real feel, you want an amp like that, because then you can just sound like the other guys. But if you're looking for your own sound, what happens here is when good guitar players, all the years I've been building, when a really good guitar player sits in front of my amps, first thing that hits them is that amp is out of their way, just like a Sean Lane. You can do what you want. You pull the tone you want out of it, and you can create, because it's just vocal tone, straight vocal tone. Okay, and that's what's special about this amp. So when I get questions, what's your amp based on? What's your amp based on? And I understand that people are so used to everybody copying everything, you know, oh my God, he said it was an original amp, but he called it an overdrive special. You know that joke, right? So you know the 8 billion copies of the Dumble and the Marshall. You know, this is something completely different. If you have everything else, you know, you might want to give this a go. I mean, I've got people that played my amps 30 years ago that I don't remember them, and then they call me one day 30 years later and say, you know, I've just come into some money and I never forgot the sound of that amp. Send me your best amp. You know, so it has that effect on people. Anyway, just a little overview on the 10N, and all this is happening with 2 preamp tools. Okay, it's got 2 12X7s and 4 KT77s, and I started that video without the Gain Master. Okay, I could have got the sound of this Gain Master by simply turning these amps up. Look how low they are, and it's loud in here. Okay, these amps are powerful. Okay, yeah, it's pretty damn loud. Now if I wanted that sound I was getting here without this, simple. I turn these up, but you know, good luck. I mean, you can't do that everywhere. And if you build low wattage amps, they have no low end and they sound weak and anemic. Okay, so that's what this is all about. This is a big part of the design. Okay, this isn't like a distortion box or fuzz or anything. I got that stuff over there if I want to turn it on. What this does is emulate this amp turned up. It drives it because it's so pure. If I have a very pure signal driving it, if you plug this into a Marshall or something, God knows what it's going to sound like. I don't even know. It's not designed for that. It's designed, you know, strictly for my amps, and it allows you to get the range you want. The amount of gain. I was doing all kinds of things with the volume controls in my hands, changing the range in and out. And again, you have to excuse I had to play a slide guitar because I really can't use this finger right now. But I wanted to get this video in, and that's what the Gain Master does. Another thing the Gain Master does is it's the best effects loop you've ever heard, because all your time-based effects, delays and stuff, they go after the Gain Master. Okay, so effects loops, they kill the tone of the amp. It just doesn't. You just put them there, and there's no compromise at all. Wah-wah pedals, phasers, flangers, you name it, all that other stuff in front. Fuzz, you can drive these with fuzz pedals. You know, it allows you to get this amp to sound like it sounds at any volume, and that's where that's all at. So that's an overview on the 10N, and other than just you hear it all the time, oh, that sounds beautiful, but now you know a little bit of the history without getting too technical of what's in there. Big transformers, expensive parts, because, you know, single-ended Class A at about 80 watts. I mean, you know, that's pretty tough to do. It's going to cost money to build something like that. And the amps are reasonably priced. You can, you know, text me or you know, get on my website, GikaAmplification.com, and get the quote. And anyway, that's that.